Hi everyone and welcome to Troll Market Tarot. I think I have mentioned before that I'm gonna roll the chair, sorry, that I really prefer being asked things. And today was a bit of an exception. I was talking to a friend we haven't spoken in a very long time, and she wanted to know some things about her future, which we figured out, and now we have our fingers crossed that it's actually going to work out the card said it will, because it looked absolutely wonderful. But that got me thinking about a reading that I really want to do, actually. And so I'm going to do it, obviously. So the subject today is I haven't figured out a fancy title for this even. I'm just like, oh, I want to do this reading. So it's going to be something like or along the lines of, I have this negative pattern or situation in my life. How do I break out of it? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 for how do I break out of the negative pattern repeating in my life. So go ahead and make your selection and I'll see you in your reading. Hello everyone who chose pile 1 for how do I break out of the negative pattern repeating in my life. We're going to start by getting an idea about what this negative pattern is. And as usual, I'm pretty poorly prepared. I haven't actually done like a roadmap for this reading. I find that I very rarely do. I just ask the question, pull it. This one at least has a 3-part sort of setup. So we're going to start with finding out what the negative pattern might be about. And then after that, we are going to try to find out what you are supposed to learn from it. Because, I mean, if it is repeating, chances are there's a lesson there for you to learn. So let's see if we can figure out what the lesson you're supposed to learn is. You both wanted it. Okay. And then it is, well, the final is, how do I break the pattern? So how does pile 1 break the negative pattern? There we go. Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, that's great. I mean, we're gonna have a look at this as well. Okay. On first glance, just what the negative pattern is, we have 3 of Cups and 3 of Swords. So that's the celebration and partying and seeking support with friends. And the 3 of Swords is the heartbreak, the feeling betrayed or misunderstood or, you know. So I wonder, there are several possible interpretations of this. It could be a slightly bipolar, not necessarily the, what's it called, diagnosis, like bipolar disorder, but a sort of world that goes up, down, up, down, up, down, very sharp up, down, up, down. Like you're so happy and then everything falls apart. Or you think you meet someone new who gets you and then it turns out they didn't even like you. Or you enter a relationship and you're really happy and then they betray you. Or you're having so much fun but then you go overboard and you drink too much or do too many drugs or spend too much money and then everything falls apart. I'm actually gonna go with, we'll see, I'll explain this. But at the what it's supposed to teach you, you have the 10 of Cups, which is the ultimate fulfillment. Emotional, you're happy, you're stable, you're safe, everything is wonderful. And the Son of Swords, or the Knight of Swords, which is generally a pretty intellectual, fast-moving, swift, decisive, but intellectual, very cerebral, intelligent. And then, so that's what you're supposed to learn. And then how to break out of it. There you have the 3 of Cups again, and you have the Chariot. So the way I kind of see this is when things are going well, they go very well, and you go overboard and you become too optimistic, or you see close connections where there actually are none, or you feel very rich and you spend too much. This is a going up and down, up and down, up and down behavior where you then feel heartbroken and sad and betrayed and hopeless. And then you feel good and happy again, and then everything falls apart, and then you build it up and everything's happy again, and then it falls apart. So, what it's supposed to teach you is to learn to see the good things you have. That you actually have a lot of good stuff going. Now, I know in some situations this might not feel true. Like maybe you're unemployed, maybe you're homeless, maybe someone cheated on you, maybe you don't have any friends, that sort of thing. But with the intellectual part here, you can still see, for example, as long as you can still communicate with people in some way, you can meet friends and you wouldn't be alone. As long as you are able to work, be it over text or phone or with your body or do something creative, whatever, as long as you can do that, you have the opportunity of getting a job. You have then the opportunity or the chances of getting someplace to live or a job or new friends or a new relationship. It's trying to teach you to remain positive, not digging yourself down in the everything is hopeless, everything is terrible mindset, and then going overboard when it turns. Instead, try to maintain a realistic but optimistic view. That's what this is trying to teach you, that there's always something positive to come back to, that you have support, or you are able to support yourself emotionally or physically or whatever. And the way to break out of this is to celebrate, but with control. So, I mean, I'm not going to point any fingers here, but if we have any substance abusers, this could be your pile. That you always go too far and you lose control. And then everything is horrible because you did something bad, or you feel like you did something bad. And then you still lose control the next time and the bad things happen again. Maybe then you don't need to do the thing that tends to end up badly all the time. Maybe you can... I'm going to use the example of alcohol here, actually, because when I was young, we're talking very young, I was definitely one of these people who would go out partying and I would drink way too much and people would have to, like, take care of me. Sometimes I took care of them, but it doesn't matter. The situation was what it was. And then I felt terrible and everything was horrible and I was so ashamed. I wouldn't say I ever had a drinking problem, but it is a problem if you end up puking your guts out in an alley somewhere and your friend has to, like, clean it off. That is a problem. What I've learned is that I have just as much fun at parties without drinking. No, that sounds so boring, but it works. I'm a kind of fun person. Normally people don't even realize that I'm sober, and that just means they have a designated driver as well as someone fun to party with. But I had to do a lot of thinking to arrive at that. I had to do the thinking, like, I don't actually like who I am when I'm drunk. I'm not a nice person, and I mess things up for my friends. So that's kind of a decision I made. I still drink about 4 times a year, I think, when I go to festivals where I don't have to take responsibility for things, and I still take it easy. And that's kind of it. I added the element of control to that. Now, this, of course, doesn't have to be alcohol or drugs. It could be, like, love addiction sort of thing, where you go out and you meet new partners and you thrive on the kick you get from the new or the intense emotions. And then when or if it falls apart, you feel so lonely and so betrayed and like everything fell away. But that's not true, and that's what you're supposed to learn. You are capable of taking care of yourself. You are capable of being in control of whatever this is, and not seeing only the terrible, terrible, or the everything is perfect. It's still good. And you are perfectly capable of staying in that it's good. And then you can celebrate that while maintaining control of your relationships or your habits or whatever it is. Your meditation card is the Spell Singer and says, cast spells of wonder and delight. Now, I don't know how that relates to your situation, but cast spells of wonder and delight. That's your meditation message. So please do let me know if and how this resonated for you. I'd be really curious, but keep in mind what you're supposed to learn here is that you are able to take care of yourself. You can stay happy. You have what you need to remain happy or achieve your goals. Just take control of whatever negative behaviors or negative circles. This is all in you. And you don't even have to change your life a lot because the Three of Cups is both here and here. But here it is with the sadness, and here it is with the target, the goal, the control. So good luck. Let me know how that works for you. Hello everyone who selected pile 2 on the, I don't have a name for it yet, but how do I break the negative pattern repeating in my life is probably what we're going to go with. So we're going to start out by finding out what this pattern might be. Like, how is this pattern presenting itself for pile 2? There. And then, because that's always interesting, we're going to find out what are you supposed to learn from this negative pattern. Because when something repeats like this, it is quite likely that you are supposed to learn something from it to be able to move on. So we're going to find out now what that lesson you're supposed to learn is. Yeah. And then finally, we're going to take a look at how to break the pattern. Because just because you learn something doesn't necessarily mean, that it's gone. You also have to actually break out of the pattern. Now, how do you do that? For pile 2. There we go. Okay. Okay. I mean, this feels like... Okay. I get a feeling here, because you have the Queen of Coins or Queen of Pentacles and the High Priestess. And this is, I don't know, well, that is the negative pattern. The Queen of Coins and the High Priestess. What you're supposed to learn is the High Priestess and the Four of Swords. And how to break out of it is the Queen of Pentacles and the Eight of Coins. Or Queen of Coins, sorry. Well, Queen, Pentacles, coins, pentagrams, stones, they're the same thing. So Queen of Coins and the Eight of Coins. Since you have the Queen of Coins here as well, and the High Priestess, and then you have the High Priestess here, I get the feeling, but I'm not sure, that you are someone who is naturally very intelligent. You are able to see potential consequences. You're almost, well, you might be, but I mean, this isn't part of the negative thing, but you might be almost psychic in how you deal with, if you do this, this is going to happen. So you might end up being the constant advisor, caretaker, that no one actually sees to your needs. You're always taking care of other people. You're always giving other people advice. You're always giving other people comfort and nurturing and support, but you don't get any. Yeah, I'd say that is what it looks like here. You're always the one taking care of others. No one's really taking care of you. You get treated a bit like an oracle. You're supposed to know everything. You're supposed to always be the strong one, fix everything. What this is supposed to teach you here is, first of all, the High Priestess shows up here as well, so probably it is quite likely that you are the High Priestess. You really are this intelligent, intuitive, very clear-sighted, knowing, and more or less psychic person. But you're also supposed to learn to set limits. With the Four of Swords, that's rest, heal. So you accept this part of yourself but you learn to set limits and don't let others use you. Yeah, pretty much that. Let yourself rest. Don't let them suck you dry of your energy just because you're very good at being supportive and advising and helpful. Don't let them do that. Take a rest. Make clear boundaries. Because then how you break out of this is the Queen of Coins, which you also have here, and which I'm feeling is maybe more what you want to be. But in this case, probably with the Eight of Coins, mother yourself a bit. Be clear with what you're doing. You're helping others. You might want something in return. Your work should be rewarded, sort of thing. So, and also I would say allow yourself to connect more emotionally. Don't let them turn you into the High Priestess, because the High Priestess, that's a work title, sort of thing. She's the oracle. She's the one you come to. That's her job, more or less. And people tend to see them as otherworldly or more than just human. Like they don't have needs of their own. They're just there to guide humanity, which you might be. That, since that is what it's supposed to teach you, you might actually have a job to do in the world where you do advise and help others. Maybe, for example, maybe you are psychic. Maybe turn that into a job instead and get rewarded for what you do. Or make it very clear to friends and family and the people using you that you have needs as well. And you need those met so that it's a fair exchange, so that you get something back. They're not just draining you. You are getting something back for it. Your meditation card is the Honey Mother. And I really love how that says mother. I mean, this is a meditation card. It's up to you to interpret what it means. But it's interesting with these cards that you get the Honey Mother, the one who takes care of the hive. Anyways, the meditation message is, sometimes the greatest magic lies in the smallest of forms. Sometimes the greatest magic lies in the smallest of forms. So meditate on that. Consider who you are letting use you. And draw up, I mean, first of all, accept that you are really, really good at whatever it is that they're using you for. But set boundaries. Create limits. Tell them that you can't be only that you have needs to, or just cut them off if they can't accept and respect that. I think that's what's going on here. But yeah, let me know, because I'm really curious, and you probably know better than I what the actual problem is here and if this resonates. So please do let me know, and I hope this helps. Hello, people who chose pile 3. We're gonna look at, again, I don't have a proper title for it yet, but it's gonna be something along the lines of how do I break the negative pattern repeating in my life. And the first thing we're gonna do is take a look at what this pattern might be. So what is this pattern? How does it play out in pile 3's life? And then we're going to look at what is it supposed to teach you? Because any pattern that repeats itself without you breaking it, it tends to be that you have to learn something from it. Otherwise you will keep repeating it. So we're looking at what is this pattern supposed to teach pile 3? What are you supposed to learn from it, sort of thing. And then also we're going to grab a few cards for how do you break the pattern, because just knowing and learning whatever it is doesn't necessarily break the pattern. So we're going to look at that too. How does pile 3 break this pattern? There we go. Now we're going to take a look at your cards. Okay. So you have in the negative pattern, that's the Devil and the Ten of Cups. The Devil frequently is about addictions, abuse, bad relationships, codependency, that sort of thing. The Ten of Cups is, you know, very happy card. So I wonder if the negative thing is that either that you're addicted to something, and I'm gonna go ahead and suggest that that might be, it might be relationships, it might be sex, it might be friendships, but it might be someone else using you for these things and you taking what little pleasure and joy you can from it. That could also be it. And I would say then, with what you're supposed to learn, you have the Eight of Swords and the Tower. This feels, in this situation, provided that this part is correct, that there's codependency or addiction or abuse going on, to try and suck out happiness from a bad situation. That really isn't making you happy, obviously, because then it wouldn't be a negative pattern. And this is a negative pattern. That's specifically what we asked about. So you're probably ending up in bad relationships. I can't know for certain that this is relationships, but I get that feeling. Might be wrong. Like you're not allowed to be yourself in relation to something, that you're feeling, well, trapped. They have these chains around their necks and stuff, but I'm mainly saying that because what you're supposed to learn here is the Eight of Swords and the Tower. And the Eight of Swords, that's when you build a cage for yourself, when you have victim mentality, when you're like, oh, it will never get better and I can't do anything about it and it's someone else's fault or fate or God hates me, if you believe in God, or that sort of thing. But it's not really true. And the Tower kind of shows that. You're supposed to learn that you can remove these situations. It might not be easy, but really it's up to you to break it. You have to break out of the cage that you have essentially built for yourself. And maybe it wasn't your fault. Maybe you were brought up in an abusive home and you don't know what a healthy relationship looks like, for example. That you think you're happy when someone is using you. This is just an example. But if that's the case, you've built that cage by perpetuating those behaviors and habits and seeking out a repetition of what you're used to. But you can shatter that. You can tear that down. How to do that? You have the Queen of Cups. There's this loving, emotional, stable, happy, passionate. And then you have the Nine of Swords. The Nine of Swords is always my seek professional help card. So if this is something you're struggling with, I'd say that's pretty much it. Seek out a professional, someone who specializes in whatever your problem is. Because you have the control to take this away, but you're going to have to replace those negative patterns, the negative thoughts, the negative habits with good and healthy ones. So you're going to have to practice heavy self-care and be really loving and nice to yourself. Let yourself fail from time to time and get up again. But make sure that you have help, because it's going to make it so much easier. And maybe you can't even do it on your own because you're stuck in this mental cage. You've caged yourself. Or someone else is controlling you. But if that's the case, then a professional would be like the police or someone. Like, let's say this is an abusive parent and you don't know how to get out. Talk to Child Protective Services, talk to the police. Get out of there. But I'm not really getting that feeling. This is more of a oppressing yourself because you don't know anything else. So, yeah. That's pretty much it. You're supposed to learn that you created this cage yourself and you can destroy it. And then you're supposed to take care of yourself with the help of others. And probably a professional if this is bad enough. You have a meditation card. And as I keep saying, I can't interpret these for you. I can get hints from them, sure. But it's up to you to decide what they mean for you. In this case, you have the Green Man. Embrace your wildness. So embrace your wildness. And you'd have to consider, what does that mean to you? What does being wild and untamed mean to you? I mean, to me, if I'm just going to be, to me, that means when I do what I want to, what I feel like, what makes me happy, that's being wild to me. When I don't obey society's expectations and stuff like that. But that's just me. This is up to you. So I don't know. Sorry about the pause there, had to drink some water. I don't know exactly what this is, but it is a pattern that is repeating in your life where you keep perpetuating it, whether you know it or not. And you can shatter it, but you may need help to do so. Because this, I don't know what it is, if it's an actual addiction or if it's an abusive relationship where you feel happy sometimes and then it's hell again. That's very common in abusive relationships, really, that, it's half of the time it's just terrible, and then they're sorry and they love bomb and everything's awesome. I've had a relationship like that. It was terrible. And then I pretty much did this. But that was a long time ago. So let me know if this resonates or how you would have interpreted it, what your situation actually is, so that I can, first of all, improve, and second of all, know how you're doing. And good luck with this. Hi, everyone who chose pile 4 in this reading about how to break out of the negative patterns repeating in your life, or the negative pattern. If you have more, you're more than welcome to choose another pile, or if there's no reading for you, then hopefully you can find help elsewhere, I was going to say. But we're going to start out by taking a look at what your negative pattern might be, because that's helpful to know. So for pile 4, what is this negative pattern? How does it play out? And then we're going to look at what you're supposed to learn from this negative pattern, because usually when a pattern repeats and repeats and repeats and doesn't end and it's negative, that's because it's supposed to teach you something so that you can move on. And in this case, that'd be, what is this supposed to teach you? And then finally, we're also looking at how to break out of the pattern. Because even if you learn the lesson, that doesn't change the pattern. You have to actively break the pattern. So let's find out how you should be doing that. How to break this pattern. Now that's... how to break this pattern. Okay. Okay. I don't know this, but on first glance, are you in a relationship and you feel bored? I'm kind of getting that feeling, though, because you have 4 of Wands, which is usually a happy card, and very often is treated as a small marriage sort of thing. And you have the 2 of Pentacles, or 2 of Coins, which is the whole balance, but also yin-yang and opposite forces coming together, juggling sort of thing, where it just works out. You have yeah. And if that's the pattern, it feels like routine, like stagnancy, like feeling like you're not getting anywhere. I think. It doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be a job. It could be where you're living. It could be anything really that you feel is stagnant, and you start to get bored and you try to break out of it, and then you end up in the same situation again. You know? Okay. I'm not sure I can explain it better. It's a bit like me. I usually move every 5 years. As soon as I start to feel at home somewhere, it starts to bore me. I have a history of doing the same with romantic relationships, actually, that as soon as I get to really know the person, then I feel like I can predict them all the time, and it gets very boring. I'm thinking this might be something like that. And again, it doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be anything, like a project you're working on, or the job, or where you live, or how you look, or, changing up your appearance, that sort of thing. What you're supposed to learn from this is, first of all, the Hanged Man. I would say a change of perspective. Change how you view these things. And I love with the Six of Cups, because this could literally mean that reconnect to how you would have seen things when you were a child. like find the adventures in these everyday situations that you feel are mundane or boring. Really see them in a different light. I I'm talking a lot about myself now, sorry, but just as an example, I used to live in, well, I lived in France for a while, and every time I'd get bored of France, my mum would come and visit, and showing her around Paris or Versailles where I lived was such an adventure because she was so excited. I mean, she didn't see these things every day. She didn't see the market square every day or the Starbucks even. I mean, she lives in a very small town in Sweden. She didn't see these things on a daily basis like I did. I took them for granted. But seeing them through her eyes made them exciting to me again. It was like, wow, I really am lucky to have a Starbucks 10 minutes from home. This is fantastic. That changed my view of things by looking at them in a different angle, from a different perspective. So it changed my perspective. And then, to break the pattern, you kind of have this. The ultimate happiness and fulfillment, the 10 of cups. And the page of coins, which, I mean, in this case, you really... Sorry, had to cough. With this ultimate happiness and fulfillment and the page of coins, which, I mean, that is... Pages are usually messages, but it could just as well be starting to get work underway. Pages, no, coins, sorry, are generally slow. They're steady, they're stable, they're dependable. So learning to appreciate that, being very happy with it, the page of coins, stability, safety, security, be happy. Because, and I don't know, these are meditation cards and I can't really interpret them for you, but this one says keep going. Trust in yourself. You have all you need. So trust in yourself. You have all you need. This might be a the grass is greener on the other side reading, that you really are feeling that way. But if you change how you look at it and really feel into it, maybe it's not true. Maybe you really have everything. Maybe you are happy. Maybe you are fulfilled. Maybe you're scared of that feeling because it's sort of like in codependent relationships where you might know this or not, that people think that love is the butterfly feeling, the excitement, the insecurity and unsureness and never knowing what's going to happen next, that's love. It's really not though. I mean, it could, those feelings are associated with love, sure, but when that's all you kind of have there, when you never feel certain, when you never feel safe, when you never feel secure, that's rather you being attracted to that feeling. You keep selecting it over and over again. The opposite then is also then true. If you find stability with someone you can trust, someone you don't have to be afraid of coming home to in the weekends, or a job that isn't mistreating you, or a house that isn't falling apart, or you know, that you start questioning it and waiting for this is too good, or this is too boring, or this isn't passionate enough, and then you kind of end it because you're so uncomfortable with feeling just safe and happy, having a slow warm glow inside you instead of a storm. So I think that might be it. Try seeing things from a different perspective. Try seeing it from a happy, childish, open perspective. And then to break out of it, just embrace that happiness and trust the stability and the long term. Put effort into it and keep it growing. That's how I'd interpret this reading. Please let me know if this resonates and what your situation is so that I can learn and improve. And I really hope this helps for you. Thank you so much. Bye.